Hello and welcome back to Geek and Speak, the Geek and Seek podcast. We took some time off. We needed to recollect ourselves, you know? I got baby number 2 here. Jason's been, Jason had an interesting start to his year. He needed some time off from editing, but we are back. And hey, you know what happened recently? Tarkir Dragonstorm came out, and it was an awesome set, but everyone's talked about it already, but we wanted to get in a little bit of extra dragon power going on. So today, with our first podcast back in like almost 2 months, about 2 months, I don't remember exactly how long it's been, we're going to be talking about our favorite dragons. Joined with me today is Preston. How's it going, Preston?
Going pretty good. I'm excited to be back. It was nice to have a little break, but it's even nicer to talk about Magic with some of my favorite people.
Heck yeah. And we have Mr. Editor Jason. How's it going, Jason?
Going good, getting a lot better than how the year started. And after the time off that we had, it is very nice to be back here talking Magic with my bros, my buds, my guys, my friends.
His booze. I want the record to show that he almost said his booze.
No, you guys are my boo. You guys are my booze.
Of course.
And I'm your host, Morgan. I'm also doing good. I'm happy that we took a little bit of a break, but I'm also very happy to be back because I enjoy hanging out with my bros. I almost did too. And talking about Magic the Gathering. So, again, we're going to be talking about our favorite dragons. We'll get to that shortly. But first, if you would like to support Geek and Seek, Geek and Speak, and everything else we got going on here, you can do all the YouTube algorithm stuff, of course. Become subscribed if you have not already. Hit like on the video. Share it with another friend. If they really like dragons, they should see our list. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can head over to patreon.com/geekandseek YouTube. And doing that stuff, getting our ad revenue from YouTube and our Patreon up is very important right now because guess what, guys? All 3 of us, your podcast homies at Geek and Seek, are going to MagicCon Vegas, and I'd like to be able to give these guys a little bit of cash for their flights, maybe buy them dinner or something. So if you support us on Patreon in the next little bit, that's where that money's going, is to make sure that these guys are having a happy and comfy time when we are in Vegas. Is this your guys' first MagicCons?
Yeah, it'll be my first MagicCon.
Yeah, it'll be mine too.
Not my first time in Vegas, but my first MagicCon for sure. And by the way, if you're on MagicCon, if you're on a MagicCon Vegas and you just feel like come and giving us money, like you can just come and give us cash. That's fine. I'm not asking you to. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying if you wanted to, I won't refuse it.
Yeah, maybe while you were waiting on your group to go to the con, you're staying out in the lobby at your hotel on the slots, and you win it big. Hey, just slide Jason a 20 or something, I guess. But yeah, if you're going to be at MagicCon Vegas, come say hi to us. We'll be hanging out, jamming Commander games most of the time. I have a couple MTG Goldfish obligations, but for the most part, I'm just going to be hanging out and playing games with you guys. So if you want to come say hi, get a game, we'll all 3 of us be there. All right. So, like I said, dragons. Tarkir Dragonstorm just came out. Brought us a lot of cool new dragons, some of which are going to be on our list today. Probably recency bias, but I think they're still pretty cool. This is not necessarily a power scale. While I think all of these dragons are strong, this is not a ranking of the best dragons for Commander. It's more of cards we really like to play and that we get excited about playing. Maybe a little bit of extra pretext is like most of these I think work whether or not it's a dragon deck. Have you guys ever played dragon decks before? Have you ever had one? I guess, Jason, we know you have one, but what about you, Preston?
I had the Dragon Precon when it came out. I had that for a while. I think I maybe built a dragon deck at some point on Arena. You know, some 60 card Magic with them, but I haven't had a long-term Commander deck built around dragons.
Jason, is it just the Dragon for you?
Yeah, I it's never even crossed my mind to build another dragon deck. Dragon is just, it's the perfect dragon commander in my personal opinion, and it's the only one that I think that I'll ever build or play. I love it so much.
Right on. And yeah, I personally love dragons. I love dragon decks. I just finished building my like 5th dragon deck I've ever had. I've never had more than one at the same time, but like it's always fun to just try out new commanders, different builds, try out some new dragons or whatever. So I just built like my 4th or 5th version of a dragon deck, and you guys just got to see it at our last game night. What did you guys think of Chaos Dragons? I did a deck tech for that. You can check that out from a few weeks ago. What did you guys think of Chaos Dragons?
I mean, I had a great time in that game.
Jason won.
I think I played your deck about as much as you played your deck.
Yeah, when you Villainous Wealth my Scramble verse, then yeah.
I cast Villainous Wealth and X was equal to like 23, and I played so many things that Morgan had, and it was just so much fun. I had a great time. Scramble verse, I'll never put that into a deck, but I'm so glad that I got to cast that spell in that game because it was just so hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, my favorite part about casting that Scramble verse was at the end when it was done resolving and everything, all 3 of us had someone else's soul ring.
Oh, right.
We all kept a soul ring. We just had someone else's. It was hilarious.
It was so needlessly complicated. All right, let's start off our list. We all brought our top 3 favorite dragons that we like to jam into decks. Jason, let's start with you since we've already alluded at this guy a couple times already in the few minutes we've been here. What do you have for your first one?
All right, well, if you didn't see this coming, then you don't watch the channel because you should have saw this coming. The first dragon I'm going to talk about is the Dragon. So, the Dragon, it is Wooburg and 4, so it's 9 mana total. It's a big boy to cast. It's a 10/10 legendary creature, Elder Dragon. It won't pop up.
You don't know it off the top of your head?
It's actually not an Elder Dragon.
Eminence. It's
a Dragon Avatar.
Dragon Avatar. Excuse me. It has Eminence, and the Eminence ability is as long as it is on the battlefield or in the command zone, dragon spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. It has Flying, obviously, because it's a dragon. And it says, whenever one or more dragons I control attack, draw that many cards. Then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. It's just so much fun. It's just so much fun putting stuff down for free. Now, it is a big ask to pay 9 mana for this. There's obviously ways to build the Dragon where it's fast and you get a lot of mana really quickly, and you can get Dragon out pretty consistently early. That's not how I've built my deck. My deck it's got a good mana base, but it's basically built around like playing 1 land a turn, maybe a ramp spell here and there, and maybe a mana rock here and there. So like if I can get Dragon out by turn 6, that's pretty early for me. It's pretty, on average I get it out turn 7, turn 8. But man, when Dragon comes out, you better have an answer for it, or you better you better be prepared to get swung out.
It is a clock, because and it draws a lot of cards.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Even just one slight buff, 1+1/+1 counter, and then giving it double strike with a ton of different ways to give dragons double strike.
There's a dragon that gives double strike. There's a Tarka.
You're just dead. Like you're just dead from one swing. It's so much fun, and I always love like kind of trying to downplay it. Like it's not that good. Like it's good, but it's not that good. It's not like broken. Dragon's not broken. Yeah, it's pretty broken. It's pretty busted. But it's just so much fun to play. Like of all the decks that I have, this is one of the ones like my top 3 most fun decks for me to pilot.
Well, also like it's one of those decks where if the commander gets answered, you still have a deck full of scary dragons. That's still the game plan. You just have 1 less to hit people with.
And it's a great example of why Eminence is so crazy, is because even if you never got to 9 mana, you're still giving your other, like your 5 and 6 mana dragons the discount with the Eminence ability. So it's still putting in work. So I would say that I also used to have the Dragon precon. And I found that on one hand, if you just want to put a bunch of your favorite dragons across all colors into the same deck, Dragon is probably your best option. There's some more options I think are more interesting, but Dragon is probably the best one. So there is that, but there's also the problem that Edgar Markov's also like this for vampires, where it's such a good option that it's, if you know you want to play 5-color dragons, it's hard to play anything other than the Dragon, you know? So that's kind of a bummer.
It's like either you play this or you play Tiamat.
Oh,
Like
Tiamat's
if
good.
you want a 5-color dragon deck, it's like you play this or you play Tiamat. That's really the options you
This
have.
one's more specific, but Scion of the Dragon is also a really cool 5-color dragon commander, but I think it's more specific for what kinds of dragons you want to put in it. If you just put your favorite dragons across all the colors in there, it's probably perfectly functional, but it's going to look a lot different, I think, if you try to fine tune it as opposed to Dragon.
Right.
Right on. But Preston, what do you have for your first dragon you want to talk about today?
All right, first up, speaking about that original precon, I picked the backup commander from that original precon, Ramos Dragon Engine. It's a 6 generic legendary artifact creature dragon. It's a 4/4 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on him for each of that spell's colors, and then you get to remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos to add 2 of each color mana to your pool, and you can only do that once a turn. I always just thought he was more interesting than Dragon. I know he's not nearly as good, but you can do a lot of different things. You don't have to build around dragons. You can do some kind of goofy ones, like you had the what did you do with Ramos? The charms.
Yeah,
You had that
I
for a
used to
while?
have a Ramos Dragon Engine deck. Tommy played it on the show once. You can go check that out on I think it was the episode where everyone played one of my decks. I think it was that episode that he played it. But yeah, I used to have a Ramos Dragon Engine deck where I just played a bunch of multicolored spells, mostly charms, a couple ultimatums, stuff like that. The commands. And that's really fun because a lot of them are also instants. And if you really pop off that last ability on them where you remove 5 counters and add double Wooburg, it's once a turn, but it's on every turn. It's not just limited to your turn. So if you're playing all these instant speed cards, you can just pop off on everyone's turn. It was a really fun deck, but it was a dirtle machine. So yeah, I don't have it anymore, but it was really fun.
Yeah, I just have always liked everything you can do with him.
Yeah, what do you think about this one, Jason?
Ramos is good. I've seen a couple of Ramos decks, and one of the things that I think is kind of interesting about Ramos is you can build Ramos as a competitive deck. You can build it as a CEDH deck.
Really?
Yeah, Cody, my buddy Cody, he's been on the channel before. He's built a Ramos as a CEDH deck. It definitely can be tough to get him out just as he's 6 mana. But if your mana base is built right, then you can get him out pretty consistently. I personally don't think it's as interesting as the Dragon, but I'm biased. I will admit I'm biased. I fully understand that. I do think that it is really cool that you can build around something that's not dragons with this. And the double Wooburg that you get is specifically interesting to me because there's a combo. Because of this combo, I've thought about putting Ramos into my Dragon deck. There's this combo that you can do with, I've talked about this on the channel before, the World Tree and Artificial Evolution. Artificial Evolution lets you change like the creature type on a card to a different creature type, and the World Tree is like you pay double Wooburg, and you can like bring out any number of god creatures from your library onto the battlefield. So you use Artificial Evolution to change god to dragon, and then you can just use Ramos to get double Wooburg, and then you put all the dragons onto the battlefield. And I've been waiting. I've been dying to get that combo off in my Dragon deck, and I have yet to do it, but I will. One day. One day it'll happen. Don't have Ramos in there, but I've thought about putting Ramos in there for that specific reason.
That would be a good reason to do it. Yeah, I really like Ramos for basically the same reason you guys do. That's kind of more open-ended. It's not even a bad dragon commander because there's plenty of multicolored dragons and stuff, so you could lean more into those than a lot of the mono red ones or something. It is a decent dragon commander because it's potentially ramp if it gets to stick around and get big enough. Then there's obviously +1/+1 shenanigans that you can do to make it grow even faster. And then if you cast a lot of multicolor spells, like my charm deck I used to have, it would get so big, and you start commander damaging people out of the game with it because it can get so big, and then you can just continue to pop off post combat by removing the counter. So it's also just a decent option for 5-color good stuff. If you have a decent amount of multicolor stuff, multicolors matter. So I like that it's open ended. It's a really cool card.
It also lets you build a 5-color deck that doesn't have to be like 40% green to work. I think that's pretty nice.
That's a good point because it's kind of ramp. I mean, it's 6 mana.
Well,
But-
he's generic, so you don't care what colors you
Sure.
have to get him
Sure.
out, and then you get a little bit of everything with his ability.
Yeah, assuming that you can get enough counters on him early enough to make use of that
Yeah.
before, it possibly gets destroyed.
If you just have other +1/+1 shenanigans though, there's ways to get the counters on there quicker. Like if you had like other things that die that have counters, and you had like the Ozolith, and then you could just move the counters onto Ramos. So there's definitely shenanigans you can do to make it more efficient. But yeah, if you just playing it fairly, it's not very good. But there's definitely shenanigans to make it really scary, really fun. All right. My first card is a newcomer. This is from the Dragonstorm Commander Precon, the Sultai one. This is Colossal Grave-Reaver. It's a dragon that's for 6, a black and a green, so 8 mana, 7/6 with flying. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you mill 3 cards. Then whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put one of them onto the battlefield. So obviously, it's pretty good in graveyard decks, and it's a self-sufficient engine because it's doing some milling for you, but it's from any mill. If you're like, it's 8 mana, right? It's not coming down till later in the game. Chances are, if you're a graveyard deck and you want to be self-milling or something, you're going to have incidental engines that are doing this already for you. So by the time you get the Grave-Reaver, not only is it getting you creatures from your graveyard, but your other things are also going to give you creatures from your graveyard. And that seems crazy. And it's not just from you don't just get to pick a creature from the cards that were milled from the Grave-Reaver. It can be any card from your graveyard, any creature card from your graveyard that was put there at any point. And that just seems like crazy. Like there's got to be so many crazy things that you can do with this. I think it being 8 mana.
I don't know that you're understanding that right.
No, it
'Cause
is one of
has
the
to
ones you
be-
milled at the time.
Yeah, whenever it triggers, it's whatever of the
one or more
ones that
creature
were
cards are put in your
milled.
graveyard from your library. Yeah.
Put one of them.
Yeah. Whatever.
So
one
it's
or
like
more creature cards are
if you mill.
Oh,
if
I
you
see,
mill
I
three-
see.
Yeah, you mill 3, you put one of those 3. But then if you mill another 3, you don't have 5 cards to choose from. You know what I mean?
Okay, 80% of what I said is still true.
No,
if you
it's still good. I still think it's
still a self-sufficient engine, and it will still count for other self-mill engines you probably already have by the time you get to 8 mana later in the game. So most of what I said still applies.
In black, there are some like kind of flicker-ish effects, like Kaya's Ghost Form, card like that, where like if it would die, you return it to the battlefield so you can get the ETB trigger again to get it to mill, and then you get to use its ability again. So there's certain things like that you can do just in the colors without having to add any flicker colors like blue or white.
Yeah, and you could also, if you really want to go in for this kind of stuff, you could be playing more surveil cards, so you're doing a little bit of top deck manipulation while it's also helping your graveyard. You could play Sensei's Divining Top. There's all sorts of things that you could. Vampiric Tutor to set up whatever your next dragon creature's going to be that's going to hit. So there's definitely ways. It not being a legendary creature is probably good. I think this would be a really scary commander if it could be a commander, but it not being legendary limits at least kind of what decks it would go in. But I'm so excited about this card. I want to play it so bad.
I want to look this up because I'm not actually sure how this works. Does Buried Alive just become a tutor to the battlefield?
That's a good question. I think. Wait, no, I think you're right.
Because you're putting it from your library to your graveyard.
Mm-hmm. That's actually insane.
I
yeah, and then like Entomb also works. Yeah.
I think that meets the condition.
Yeah, that seems crazy. Yeah, so there's definitely funky things.
Someone
to do
in the
with
comments, if you know more, just tell me I'm either right or I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah, what do you think about this one, Preston?
I think it's crazy where I think there's enough creatures that have those ETB mill effects. It's possible even with just these 2 colors to mill your entire library in one turn if you get lucky enough. Especially if you do put it in a blue deck, you will almost certainly go through your entire library.
Mm. Well, yeah, I'm thinking about putting this in my Muldrotha deck.
Thassos.
And, well, no, that's lame. At least do the most fair one, which is like Labman or something, or the
Yeah, but
the
if you're going
Jace.
for it, go for it.
Yeah, sure. But I am thinking about putting this in my Muldrotha deck, which has blue, so then it has extra shenanigans that if your deck is getting too low or something like that. Any last thoughts on this one, Jason?
No, I'm kind of like, I'm just gonna look at rulings real quick while we go into the next card to see, because I'm super curious now, because that sounds like it's really good.
I'm 90% sure you're right, because we just did a Commander Clash where Phil played this. I don't think it's come out yet by the time this video comes up, but Phil just played a Commander deck with this, and I think he was playing like the Entombs and the Buried Alive and stuff. So I think you're right. But Jason, what's your next card?
So my next card is actually a dragon that I play in a bunch of different decks. It's Hoarding Broodlord. It's 8 mana, so it's 5 and 3 black for a 7/6 dragon. It has Convoke and flying, and it says when it enters, search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it. And then it has spells you cast from exile have Convoke. So I love this card because I think that it's really versatile. If you're just going to use it as a face value tutor with that's on a massive body that you don't necessarily have to pay 8 mana to get because it has Convoke, that by itself is solid. But then if you throw it into a deck where you're playing from exile, then this card just becomes like one of the best cards in the whole deck. Because now you're allowing yourself to not spend all your mana on the cards that you're casting from exile. And like if you have something like is it Prosper, where you when you play stuff from exile you get treasures tokens, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So now you can save, you can in a way kind of get ahead on mana for certain cards that you're playing because you're not actually spending mana to cast them, you're convoking them out. And then, because this is an ETB and it's in black, recursion really goes well with this card. This card has won me so many games in the decks that I've put it in. It's super strong, and it's on just a really big body. So even if you get that tutor, now you just have a 7/6 flyer that you can either block somebody with or you can start swinging people out with.
Yeah, the one deck I've played it in so far was my Prosper deck when I had it, and holy crap. There were a couple tutors I had in this deck, but this was one of the most exciting ones. Like, it's flashy, it's a big old dragon. But honestly, if you're just like playing a deck that has a decent amount of creatures, like, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, half my deck is creatures. It's just like a decent amount of creatures. It has Convoke. It's got to be so good. It's got to be good. And how is this card only $4? It's so good. So,
and here's the other thing that I like about it. It's a creature. So some of the really good counter spells can't even touch it. Like Fierce Guardianship, can't touch it. Force of Negation, can't touch this card.
The budget guys worrying about their negates. But like, yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I've found that I'm playing like open-ended counter spells less and less in my blue decks, and I'm usually just playing things that counter specifically non-creature spells because I want to stop their board wipes, I want to stop their removal, I want to stop their tutors. This is a tutor that gets around it. So if that's something you're worried about.
The card that you tutor for, it's protected from everything.
Right.
It goes into exile. It's not like it goes into your hand and it can be discarded, or it goes into the top and it can get milled. It's in exile, and then even if Hoarding Broodlord goes away, you can still play it whenever you want, because for as long as that card remains exiled. So I just think that this is a really fun and powerful card, like as far as just dragons, that you can throw into any deck that has the color.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is a potentially free tutor that can potentially make the thing you tutored for it free. That's also very easily repeatable in the color.
Right.
I also don't understand how this is only $346 for the cheapest one. That's insane.
Stop talking, guys. You're gonna make me have to pay $50 for the next one I want.
Yep.
Well, go buy 10 copies before anyone realizes.
That's a good point.
Don't get your financial advice from Geek and Speak. I don't want to be liable. But
I'm not telling them to do it. I'm telling him to do it.
But yeah, I agree, Jason. I think, and I was thinking it might not even have to be like a a creature-heavy black deck either, because black has the like swamp doublers, it has coffers. If it's a Golgari deck, then you have that ramp as well. So if you could just like realistically get up to 8 mana, you want some tutors in your deck and you don't want to spend $40 on demonic tutor, I mean, I think yeah, it's a banger. Preston, what do you got for your second card?
All right. Next up, I have Herigast, Erupting Nullkite. It's a 9 generic cost legendary creature Eldrazi dragon. It has Emerge for 6 generic and 2 red. You can cast this spell by sacking a creature and paying the Emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. When you cast a spell, you may exile your hand. If you do, you draw 3 cards. It has flying. It's a 6/6, and each creature you cast has Emerge. The Emerge cost is equal to its mana cost. This just seems like a really fun colorless, but you actually have a color commander, and you can just do some crazy stuff with it, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like red / colorless sacrifice / cheaty big stompy guys. It just seems cool. Yeah, it seems cool. Because you almost built this when we did the Modern Horizons gameplay, right? This was one of the commanders you were thinking about. Are you still thinking about playing it? Have you thought of any cool tech for it?
This is definitely in my rotation of potential ones. Because, like, you can sacrifice a creature that's like 3, pay 1 to get something that's 4, sack the 4, get something that's 5 with that 1 mana you have, and just keep doing that every turn. And you never have to worry about a empty hand as long as you have a creature out, because you can sacrifice it and get your commander for cheaper than it's supposed to be, and get around to command attacks. So
yeah, which is relevant
I'm
in red, where a lot of your card advantage is either rummaging or looting. So it's like you're usually like just even on cards. So like late game, you might be a little tight, pinched for cards. So it's a good way to refill. Is this a card you can play in the 99 of many decks? Maybe if you're like some kind of red a sacrifice deck that has red in it, maybe you would play it. But do you think this is mostly a commander, or do you think that it has a good amount of homes in the 99s?
The fact that he gives everything you have Emerge, I think, makes it very potential for 99s. Like, maybe not mono red wants him, but plenty of red decks have sacrifice if they're paired up with like black. Like the Corvolds, those kind of decks do a lot of sacrificing, so maybe mono red doesn't care as much. The drawing cards is nice, but you pair them up with some of those scary sacrifice things, it'd be pretty gross.
Yeah, what do you think about this one, Jason?
I think it's all right. You know, I think that it's cool. I just don't think that I'm smart enough to build a deck around this and have it be super functional. That I would definitely think Preston is much more equipped for. And then as far as like other decks that it could go in, the real big creature heavy decks, probably can make use out of this, especially the decks like you're talking about, Preston, where like if sacrificing is a big theme of the deck, then this is probably a really powerful card in those decks.
Ooh, like Henzi. That would be a good one to put this in. The Henzi, the toolbox. He's the Jund, give your stuff blitz. So it's like cares about big creatures, but they're going to get sacrificed. So this is like, oh, well, if it's going to go away anyways, why don't we just give a discount on these other big creatures? That would be a good home for it. Henzi. Yeah. Yeah.
Jund sacrifice is a good archetype.
Who thought?
Other than that, I don't really. I don't know that I'd ever played this card.
Right on. Yeah, it seems cool. I'll have to try to remember it, because I remember it was one of the first commanders I was previewed for Modern Horizons 3, and it was one of the ones that you were thinking about building when we did our episode of commander gameplay for it. So it's definitely a cool card. I should see if I can find a home for it at some point. All right, my second card is, I feel like, less flashy, but it leads to really fun games. This is Skyline Despot for 5 red, so 7 mana. It's a 5/5 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you are the Monarch, you create a 5/5 dragon creature token with flying. So it's a little less flashy, a little less game-ending than a lot of the other cards that we were talking about today. But it's just so fun. This is a card that I think that if you have the mana for it, if you're in the right colors, whatever, it's just kind of fun to think about playing it, because I love cards that bring the Monarch into the game. I think the Monarch makes games of Magic more fun and exciting. I have a Izzet Force Combat kind of control deck, and it originally was almost a Furkrag deck, which is a Izzet dragon that cares about goading and stuff. So there's a couple dragons in the deck. This is one of the only ones that has survived all the upgrades I've done. But yeah, bringing in the Monarch, and then if you survive all the way to your turn while keeping the Monarch, you're going to start building a very lethal board very fast, and it has flying. And if it gets to make tokens, it makes flyers. So if someone does take the Monarch from you, it's probably not that hard to come and take it back. So yeah, what do you guys think about this one?
I don't think it's all that great, but I love the Monarch enough. I'm willing to kind of overlook that. Also,
Yeah, that's
it's
kind of
one
where
those
I'm
cards
at.
where- It's a very cheap card, but if you were willing to spend money, it has a great alternate art, and I like cards that have that flexibility.
Yeah, see, for me, I think that this card is a lot of fun, and that's the main reason that I think that I would add it into a deck. But there is one deck that would absolutely abuse this card, and it's Obeka, Splitter of Seconds.
Oh,
The one where you get
the
additional upkeeps.
Oh, that is
If
so cool.
you give yourself like 15 upkeeps and make 15 5/5s,
That's so cool.
Whoo! Whoo! Now it's a party. Now we're talking.
That's a lot stronger than what I was saying. I was just like, oh, dude, it's a beater that brings the Monarch into the game. Isn't that fun? And you're like,
No.
what if we make 15 5/5s?
In Obeka, it's a potential game winner.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you get all those upkeeps, you're not going to necessarily be able to swing with them on that turn because, you get the extra upkeeps when Obeka deals damage. But still, the fact that you're able to build that board state up just from one attack, and then say you have something like a Relentless Assault where you can get extra combat, now you're talking about actually killing people.
And you're in red, so you probably have Haste Enabler somewhere.
Yeah. It's just, I think that this card is fun. I think the Monarch, I think we all agree that the Monarch is a really, really, really cool thing, and it's a really interesting way to add a fun new dynamic to each commander game. I do think 7 mana is a bit much.
Yeah, it's not really a
If you're
strong card, but it is fun.
If you're just doing it, if you're just trying to get back to your first upkeep to make one token, I kind of think that 5 mana is a bit much. But I don't really know what the dynamic was when this card came out, because I'm pretty sure this came out in Conspiracy.
Yep.
And I'm not really sure if they had made it 6 mana, if at the time it would have been really busted. Because obviously they didn't know that, certain cards were going to get printed that could have potentially made this even more broken if it was 6 mana. But I just think, 7 mana's okay. It's fine. It's an uncommon, so that makes sense. That checks out.
Wasn't originally. It was a rare in Conspiracy.
Maybe if it was a 6/6 dragon, maybe I'd feel a little bit better about it.
I don't know if that. I don't really know if that matters too much. I kind of feel like.
I mean, it would help justify the 7 mana cost a little bit
7
more
mana
to
is
me.
steep. 7 mana
to
is
me.
steep. Yeah. But I think if you're a red deck that just wants some flyers, you're a deck that cares about tokens, you're a deck that cares about the Monarch, you like playing these goading, forced combat kind of shenanigans like I do, you should consider this card in your red decks. All right,
Also,
Jason. Oh yeah, go ahead, Preston.
If you want to try to get the Monarch back, but someone took it and it's about to be your turn, you can't always make a token or flicker this to get the Monarch back. That's something
true.
I see people don't really do much with these. When it enters, you become the Monarch cards. That anytime you do that, you get the Monarch back. It doesn't matter if someone else has it at the time.
Yep. All right, Jason, what do you got for your last card?
So the last card that I wanted to talk about is Hellkite Courser. It is a 6/5 dragon for 2 red and 4. It has flying, obviously. And it says, when this creature enters, you may put a commander you own from the command zone onto the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to the command zone at the beginning of the next end step. I think that this can slot its way into a multitude of decks that have red in it, even if it's not a dragon deck. If your commander is like 4 mana or more, and it has a really solid ETB trigger, you can cheat that out. If it's 4 or 5 mana, you probably don't want to spend 6 mana doing it. But if it gets destroyed one time, then you could play this instead and get it out, without having to actually pay for it. And if the commander ends up going back to the command zone at the end of the turn anyways, you still get a 6/5 beater out of it. But what's even cooler to me is the fact that the trigger that puts the commander back into the command zone triggers at the beginning of the next end step, which means you can avoid doing it by ending the turn. Or,
Putting it in your
countering
hand
that or some way.
Yeah, you can flicker it or bounce it, or there's lots of things you could do. Phase it out, I think, also works.
Yeah, so I'll use Ur-Dragon as an example. Say Ur-Dragon gets killed and now I have to spend 11 mana to get Ur-Dragon back out. Instead, I spend 6 mana and I get Ur-Dragon back out with haste, and I can swing at it and swing at somebody, get Ur-Dragon's trigger, and then, put it back into the command zone if I need to. But on top of that, Ur-Dragon's going to make this cheaper as is, so it's instead of paying 6 mana for that, I'm paying 5 mana for that. I just think that this card is really strong, and I think that it can slot its way into a ton of different decks. Maybe if your, commander is like 3 mana or less, maybe you don't need it. Maybe it's not something that you're going to prioritize, but I do think that if your commander is 4 mana or more and you do have a solid ETB trigger on it, it's something that you definitely should consider throwing into your deck, especially considering it's on a 6/5 flyer, dude.
So everything you said about this card is true. I think it's best in commanders that already are like maybe they're 5 or 6 mana to start with. That way, if it gets removed a couple times, then this kind of lets you feel less bad about paying the tax. And this effect, if it brings it into play and then it gets put back, that does not add to commander tax. So that's also nice. Where I think this card's really good that I don't see people talk about as much is Voltron decks. Because Voltron decks are often kind of similar where if it gets removed a couple times, it feels really bad. But this is like a great way that you can come in, get your commander damage, because when it brings it back, it gets haste, so you can go ahead and get swinging with it. But then also if your deck just has any kind of like phase out, blink, anything like that, it's also just a decent way to get a discount on your commander mid to late game. So it's definitely a card that's most obviously really strong in things like Ur-Dragon where your commander's 9 mana, but I think it has a decent amount of homes. So yeah, what do you think about this one, Preston?
Yeah, it's good. It's a newer card, so haven't had a chance myself to put in anything. There's not a deck off the top of my head I really want this, but in general, plenty of decks it could go into, so I might find a place for it at some point.
And definitely pick it up now, because
it dropped
was
in
expensive.
It dropped in price a lot with the reprint.
Yeah, it was expensive when it first came out in Commander Legends, and now that it got reprinted in Tarkir, it's dropped dramatically.
Speaking of Tarkir, Preston, what's your number 2 pick?
All right.
I mean, your number 1 pick.
Yeah. All right. Finally, to end out my list, I have Betor, Kin to All. 2 generic, a white, a black, and a green for a 5/7 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying. And at the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, you draw a card. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater, you untap each creature you control. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 4 or 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life rounded up. Another proud contender of the big booty community. Love commanders that do that, and this one's just a really fun one.
Yeah, most famously, there's Arcades, who is also a dragon, and then there's the one of the new like Feldar or something from the new Abzan Precon. Also cares about
the
big
tree
butts.
folks.
Yeah, the tree folks. Betor is a really fun one though, because 40 seems like an obscenely high number, but like if you've seen these decks in action,
you're playing green.
You'll get there. Like 40 total toughness isn't that crazy. You could get there, and because you have green and black, That means you have access to both of the trees, which have like crazy high toughness already that can get higher toughness. So that's also a funny trick that you can do with it. And then there's just a clock.
Also in green. You're also in green and white, so maybe you do a little bit of tokens and you do a little bit of token doubling. It's not uncommon in Commander to have 40 creatures, to have 41 ones. It's not uncommon.
Yeah, that's also true. You could also just play like a go wide strategy and get there in a more fair way and not have to worry about defenders or big butts.
You're in the token colors, the creature protection colors, the creature recursion colors, the big creature colors, like
the ramp.
You got
colors.
everything you need. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is a really cool one. Yeah.
Sadly, Arcades can't go into this deck, and this deck can't go into Arcades.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. They don't need to make each other any more toxic.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice? Because they do work really well together.
There is, I think, a decent amount of overlap in how that deck would look, like a Betor deck versus an Arcades deck. But I like that they're a little bit different. They have one color that's different, and that means there's going to be some crossover, but that also means that they have room to stand out. Like the new Abzan Precon is also like that. This Betor is not in the other Betor is in that Precon, and I like that there's overlap because that gives these new cards some room to shine. Maybe if you're like, Arcades kind of cool, but like not really for me, maybe this is a little different enough that you might try it. And better yet, because that there's a decent amount of overlap but not a complete overhaul, is if maybe you have an Arcades deck and maybe you've just gotten tired of it. This is an interesting way to spice it up, is like just rebuild it as one of the new Betors or the I'm pretty sure it's Felidar is his name, the face commander of that precon. So it's a way to like play the same archetype, but you're changing it a little bit so you can spice it up and keep things interesting for yourself and your play group. So I like that. All right. Our last card for the day is a card that we've actually seen on our gameplay show, played by Steven. This is Shadrix Silverquill. For 3, a white and a black, it's an Elder Dragon with flying and double strike. I double-checked. Every card we talked about today had flying, which makes sense because it's dragons. But surely there are dragons without flying. I don't know what they would be off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a flyer double strike, 2/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. Target player creates a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Target player draws a card and loses a life. And target player puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature they control. This card rules. Steven has a Shadrix Silverquill deck, and it's maybe my favorite of his decks. It's just really cool. I like the political cards, and especially this is the kind of politics card where you can like really get into the weeds and really do a lot of politicking and say like, hey, we're going to help each other out. Or you can just like the player that's behind, just give them the thing that's going to help them the least. Like maybe they have 0 creatures. You could say, all right, you get a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures, right? Like that's real helpful. So there's stuff like that you can do. It's also one of the only decks I've built on Magic Online, and I built it as a Voltron deck. That was really fun because it draws cards. It can make itself bigger. It has double strike. So it's really fun. I love these like politicking cards. I like these cards that play a little bit different every time you see them. I like that it's a fun commander, but it goes in the 99 of some decks. So really, really high on Shadrix Silverquill. What do you guys think about this one?
Shadrix is cool. Shadrix is definitely a cool card. I like that, it forces you to interact with the other people at the table. My favorite part about Commander is the multiplayer aspect of it, is that it's not just a 1v1 thing. There's other people and you can make deals with people and you can help each other out and you can try to put yourself in a better position to win the game by having someone that you're at the table with, do something that's going to benefit you, and in return, I'll make you a token, I'll draw you a card, I'll buff your creatures. It can also help you kill somebody who's like a problem at the table, where it's like, hey, I'll let you draw a card and I'll buff all your creatures so that they're big enough to do a lot of damage to this person or whatever. It just, like you said, the political aspects of this card I think are really, really interesting, and I think that because it forces you to interact with the other people at the table, it just makes the game a lot more fun.
Yeah, I mean, same thing applies to the Skyline Despot. Is like it's not the best dragon in the world, but it feeds into the political multiplayer aspect of Commander. And if we're gonna play Commander, I want to do that. I want to play the weird things in this format that I can't get away with in other formats. So yeah, I agree. What do you think about this one, Preston?
Yeah, I've always loved political cards. This is one of those, if no one else in the group would built it, I might have at some point. So I'm glad we have one when Steven actually plays with us.
Yeah, loser.
And there's also nothing like an opponent being at 1 life, and you go to combat.
You're
and
like,
you're
you
like,
get to
"All
draw
right,
a card.
You're gonna draw a card, lose a life.
Thanks, buddy.
I drew you a card. If you
I
have
drew you
to
a card. What are you gonna be mad about? I drew you a card.
if you have to die, isn't that the way you want to go out? Is value? Yeah.
And the best part about it is like they can't even do anything with that card that they draw because that whole ability has to resolve. They don't have a chance to respond.
I love this card so much. So much. Well, guys, that's it. That is our personal top 3's favorite dragons. Mostly dragons that don't have to be commanders. Mostly dragons that don't have to be in dragon decks. Some of these were dragons that could go in a lot of different kinds of decks, which is fun and interesting and exciting. Means we get to play these big reptilian dudes more often in more decks, which is always exciting, always fun.
Dragons may or may not be pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. As Preston says, they're not quite as cool as dinosaurs because dinosaurs are real. But I don't know. Maybe dragons are based off of dinosaurs through lost storytelling or history. Yeah, so
People dug up dinosaurs and thought that they were dragons.
dragons.
That's where they came from.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments what some of your personal favorite dragons are. We don't want to hear you talking about what you think are the strongest dragons. If you say something like Terror of the Peaks, I'm like, there's no way Terror of the Peaks is your favorite dragon because it's good, but it's not that interesting. So
If
let us
you
know
say
cool
Miram,
dragons.
we will ban you.
Blocked. Yeah, I mean, that's why I just built my newest dragon deck is because I felt like Miram was too strong. So I took it apart and built a new one. So that's, yeah. All right, guys, we will be back next week with another topic. And we are back. We're going to try to do this weekly again. If you have topics you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to do all the YouTube algorithm stuff on your way out. Like, share, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah.
Also, I want to say one
And
thing.
Jason.
If you're going to be at MagicCon and there's some decks that you've seen played on the channel or have heard some decks that we've talked about that you want us to bring and want to try and play against, leave those in the comments. Tell us what decks you want to play against, and we'll see about bringing them.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we should totally do that. I think I know what decks I'm taking, but if there's fans who are for sure going to be at Vegas and they for sure want to get a game in, I'll bring whatever they want to see. Yeah. Preston, you're bringing all your decks, right?
Sorry. Yes, I am going to at least attempt to. And then I'll
What a silly
bring a
boy.
couple every day. I'm not going to bring
Yeah.
every deck every day, but I'll have them all with me in Vegas.
I think I'm going to bring 6 because I brought 4 or 5 last year, and I felt like that wasn't quite enough. So I'm going to go up 1, and we'll see if that gets the itch. But we'll see you next week for another podcast episode. So have a good week. We'll see you guys later. Bye.